Yes, good evening, guys. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, the day is here. Yes, I promised you guys that I'll be bringing live to you a big fish, Prince Kasim Afegwa. Yes, General Ibrahim Babangida's spokesman, IBB's spokesman. Yes, we are here in the studio, just getting warmed up for this great 1 hour audience with him live in London. It's not the usual bleeding edge that you guys are used to. Hamad Oladimeji Balogun, yes, you're welcome to the stream. The time in London is 17:43 hours. Today is Sunday, the 25th day of the 9th month of September 2022. Yes, share the stream. Yeti Queen, Engineer Bukola Williams. Yes, good evening, guys. Thank you for that. Now, don't forget, some people perhaps are trying out there to get hold of some of this valuable information, and at the stroke of 6 o'clock exactly London time, we're going to kickstart the show. And if you don't join us then, for you to put your questions and answers through to Prince Kasim Afegwa, then you may end up watching our rebroadcast. Yes, the number to call, yes, we will display that later on. If you opt out to become one of those silent viewers, oh yes, I won't be able, I'll see you, but I may not be able to recognize your presence unless and otherwise you comment or you tell us exactly where you're watching the show from. Yes, we fix 6 o'clock London time. We're both ready in the studio, and at the stroke of that hour, yes, we are going to kickstart the stream. Share the stream right now, guys. Yes, Prince Afegwa is right with us in the studio in the stream. An audience. Yes, we're going to talk about 2023. We're going to talk about how things really went wrong. Where did we get it all wrong? From a nation that was orderly, fully functional, to a nation that can best be described as a decapitated nation. But is it really true that Nigeria is a decapitated nation? Is it? Where did we get the quality of our leaders? Where did we get it all wrong? Where exactly? Godwin, blessings. Good evening. Yes, guys, share it. And I know some of you are perhaps too scared because of the nature and the gravity of what we're discussing from this platform, because some of you want to travel to Nigeria and you don't really want to get yourself exposed to some of those DSS interrogation. Yes, Isaac Adegbite, Akogun Adegbite, Omo Alaporo, Omo Woni Ilu Ijesha. Yes, I can spot you as well on the stream. Yes, you're welcome to the stream. I hope you're going to have a good time, and I hope that the likes of Narada Franklin and the rest that were so adamant criticizing Prince Afegwa yesterday. We'll be here to listen to the man. I promised I'll bring him to you, and there we are. Yeah, it is now up to you now to actually share it onto your timeline, because you perhaps don't have that great access to some of the information that will be coming out to you from this end of the dispatch box from NuMediaTV. Yes, 2023, we're going to go there. The type of leader, we're going to go there. Are we going to have an election in 2023 in Nigeria? We're going to go there. And if there is an election in Nigeria, will there be any president installed? And what if we've got a president installed? What if the Fulanis decide, oh no, we don't want a southern president, and then they take revenge, and then you know how things work, and then we've got another Fulani that will rule for the next 8 years. Now, is the battle for the soul of Nigeria between the north and south? Prince Afegwa will be able to tell us. All these questions, and some of those questions that are very, very tough for you to digest or for you to provide an answer to which you guys continue to question me. Yes, the man is here. So why don't you ask him? You want to ask about what really went wrong within the space of 1 hour? I'll try my best to moderate and then see that at least we use that 1 hour to the very best of our ability. Some of you, or perhaps you've still got your grudges against IBB, General Ibrahim Babangida, and you've got uncleared questions and you want quick answers to those questions. Yes, it's there. Otherwise, if you don't turn up and you're too scared to ask those questions, then maybe it is better for you to just swallow your pride. Yes, swallow your pride and never say a word. Okay, because this is the time. The time is here for you to at least ask those questions. Yes, I can see many of you still dropping in. I can see from looking into the studio. We've got about 9 more minutes. Maybe we're going to start it even before that time so that you guys, those that will join us along the line at the stroke of that time, will join us. Okay. I haven't seen some of my favorite. I haven't seen Folake Alawiye. Oh, Yemi Foluke. Yes. Good evening, Yemi Foluke. If you've got any question, please pen down your questions. And if you want to ring it into the studio, you're free to do so. I haven't seen Folake Alawiye. I haven't seen Aminat. I haven't seen Narada Franklin. I haven't seen... I think Alaji Alakufo is already in the house. I know some of you, my favorite, some of you that are very conversant with the stream, that your name rings bell all the time. Yes, Narada Franklin is that person I really want. I'm waiting for on the stream. Okay. Yes, we are going to go into Tinubu campaign as well. And believe it or not, I gathered from reliable source, to which I presented it to Prince Afegwa himself. I think he's just been appointed secretary to a particular group. I think the main campaign group of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I think he's going to tell us. And I'm going to ask him why he was actually appointed. Maybe he's got a better explanation to provide us. Yes. For me, as an individual, I've made it known. Okay. I'm not for Peter Obi. I'm not for Atiku. And I'm not either for Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Somebody will have to convince me. Because, as for me, maybe the Yoruba agitation is the best option. Or perhaps with the current state of those that agitating for Yoruba nation, the likes of Dupe Onitiri and all those people agitating, making money out of the Yoruba nation. Is it really a better idea, like I have advocated, that, oh, okay, since they've turned Yoruba agitation into a money-spinning exercise, let them return Nigeria back to its old former glory, regional formation that the British created. Western region, Midwest, Eastern region, and Northern region. Yes, I'm particularly interested in what Prince Kasim Afegwa will have to tell us about his new appointment. Okay, 1754. Let's give it a start and the others can actually join us. Love Doris, good evening. Yes, I think Love Doris is an Edo woman too, actually. Mario Thompson. Engineer Bukola Williams, you said Yoruba nation is the answer, guys. Okay. Prince Afegwa will enlighten us based on that. Okay. The show is about to start. The show is about to start now. Guys, you're welcome to the stream. An audience with Prince Kasim Afegwa. Yes, guys, let me now put that. Yes, you are all welcome. You're welcome to the stream. As you can see, that number is right there. If you want to ring in, I promise every one of you I was going to bring this man in. Yeah, move this way. Yeah, move this way. Yes. Yeah, that's it. You are now in the center of the camera. Yes, with me, guys, you can clearly hear him, Prince Kasim Afegwa. Kasim, you're welcome to London. You're welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much.
Yes, these guys, they've been waiting for you. You can clearly see in the small screen the atrocities and everything in your country. How everybody has been demoralized, messed up. Narada Franklin, yes, I've been waiting to see you actually. Welcome to the stream. You're watching the live stream live from Moscow. Prince Afegwa is here. Narada, you're watching the stream on YouTube. Kasim, the day is here. And you are live with me in the studio. Let's first take it from the top. 62 years after independence, to which General Ibrahim Babangida was part and parcel of the, you are the spokesperson for General Babangida. IBB was part and parcel of the power brokers and a key major player in the formation of the nation called Nigeria. Kasim. No, we are not taking calls right now, guys. We are not taking any calls right now. Okay, let's listen. Let's listen to the person. Okay, Kasim said we should listen. Hello, caller.
Hello, everyone, sir.
Yeah.
Nigeria, sir.
I am on a live stream and we can't take this call. Yeah. If it is nothing to do with the live stream. Kasim, like I was saying, where did we get it all wrong? Let's start from there. You are a key player, you are a stakeholder. Your principal, a good friend of mine, IBB, 62 years. The country has gone from worse to rascals. What happened?
To what?
What happened?
You say from worse to what?
From worse to rascals. Rascals means below ground.
I won't share that sentiments with you. Of course, there have been challenges as a nation. 60 years after independence, we are not where we ought to be, but so much has been achieved, so much left undone. I will not say Nigeria from the perspective of a diasporan. I live in Nigeria. Morning, afternoon, evening, we face all the challenges, all the crises. Of course, it's a developing country, no doubt about that. There are so many characteristics of a developing country. We have gotten to some point that it almost became a failed state. Thank God that we were able to bounce back. We've had our own challenges, but I think we are still trudging on. And so, for me, I'm an incurable optimist. I believe that Nigeria will prosper. It will get to a certain level that will be admirable to each and every one of us. But rather than the brains that we need, staying outside the country and you keep criticizing, attacking us, I think it's better we pull our resources together intellectually, materially, and otherwise to come back home and help to add value.
Okay. I don't really want to waste much time on that because we've got a quite number of topics and issue to deal with. Now, I gathered you've just been appointed as, was it secretary of this?
No, I'm just secretary of a committee that's on public affairs for the Tinubu campaign.
So are you support? Are you for a Tinubu presidency?
Yeah, very well. So I made my position known. Barely January this year, I told Nigerians that after 8 years of President Muhammadu Buhari, May 29, 2023, it's only natural that the power will should come to the South, and to a large extent. As a member of the PDP, I fought within the party, and the party manipulated the process, denied Southerners the opportunity to emerge as candidate. They jettisoned the zoning formula in the PDP, and I took my exit in protest, and I said I was going to support any presidential candidate from the South that I feel, in my own estimation, has the opportunity to win the election. And so I've since pitched my tent with Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Okay. You said you were adamant on a southern presidency. What if, please make no mistakes, I used what if Wiki picked up the PDP ticket and Tinubu equally picked up the APC ticket? Where exactly would you find?
That would have been good. That was my desire. I wanted a southerner, all the candidates of the major dominant parties to have their candidates from the south, so that head or tail to be a southern presidency. Nigeria is woven around two protectorates: the northern protectorate, the southern protectorate, occasioned by the 1914
Amalgamation.
unholy amalgamation. I like to call it unholy because the respective protectorates were not consulted, ab initio, before they wove them together. So we've come together as Nigeria. The name was given to us. That name Nigeria is not native to us, even though they derived from Niger area according to history. But the point is, when you have a plural society like Nigeria with several ethnic multiplicities, several nationalities, several nation states within the nation, it is only natural that you are able to coordinate for you to also, deliberately and consciously ensure that every member of the union captured in the nation states or sub-national government, they are carried along with a sense of inclusion in what you do. So if you have a presidency in Nigeria, for example, for 8 years, as President Muhammad Buhari will be doing by May 29, 2023, it's natural that the presidency should come to the south. But Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, being a perennial aspirant, he could be contesting for presidency since 1992, about 30 years ago, insisted that he was going to run, and at the end of the day, they manipulated the process, and this is where we are.
Okay, I've got a question. Olorifumilaya Bello, that's my cousin.
Somebody is asking a question.
Yes. Love Doris. I've posted Love Doris' question onto the studio. And Love Doris is asking, my question is to Mr. Kasim. Why is Nigeria still underdeveloped?
Too many factors. Factors of disunity, factors of ethnic chauvinism, selective amnesia, cronyism, ethnic religious bigotry, and what have you. You see, there is no sense of ownership of the country. I remember barely 10 years ago when I came for one event in London here, they were discussing about the future of Nigeria. And,
how many years ago?
About 10 years ago. And some persons were saying, oh...
Was that at the High Commission?
No, not at the High Commission. I think somewhere in Tottenham.
Okay.
There was an event and all of that.
Oh, I think I remember that. I think I remember that event.
And people were discussing Nigeria from the perspective of the ethnic configurations. There is no sense of ownership of the country. We still see ourselves differently. In our own ethnic cocoon, we are driven by clannish sentiments, we are driven by prebender politics that is not holistic, politics of where I come from, I'm from this side, and I'm from this side. Even within the country, people still, when we are feeling from, they still say, where are you from, where are you from? So that Nigerianness is not in us. And so when you want to develop anything, you have to consider all of these factors, and so they don't push us forward. They don't also help our national discourse. The aspirations of the people are different. Those from the northern part of the country have their different aspirations. The ones from Niger Delta, where I belong, have their different aspirations. The Yoruba nation have their different aspirations. The Igbo, the IPOB, Biafra, and all of that, they all have their different aspirations. So once you don't have that sense of ownership of the country, you don't believe that, okay, this is our country, and because certain persons see that the country is skewed in favor of some zones or geopolitical zone than the other, even like the 2023 election, then it becomes a problem of even striking a national vision that can create, the platforms to engage development and growth.
Now,
So for me, we still have a long way to go, no doubt about
now,
that.
based on Love Dory's question of underdevelopment within the contraption called Nigeria, can this underdevelopment brought about the agitation from both the Yoruba nation, IPOB, and perhaps the Middle Belt, to which Dr. My life here was, lives was.
Well, you
cut
see, the
short.
point is this: there will be agitations when people feel a sense of loss, when there are issues of marginalization, when there are issues of exclusion from the geopolitics of the country. Nigeria is sitting on a tripod. How much of politics have we done to include all of the major players, both from the minority point of view and from the majority point of view? How are we able to rally around, people to bite into national conversations, national dialogue, that to be able to, generate the kind of ideas we need to drive the country forward? So there are going to be several agitations, both from the Yoruba side, from the Igbos, from the Northerners, all manners, even minority groups, when they are feeling a sense of unease, within the nation, the tendency is for them to, to begin to, pressurize the central government and all of that. Recently, there's been strong agitation that the country should be restructured. There should be devolution of powers. Federal government should hands off quite a number of things so that the regional government or the state government can take over the responsibility.
That is returning the country back to its old regional formation of
that one,
Western region, Midwest, Eastern region, Northern region.
But it is about time for you to devolve power. For example, federal government should have no business fixing roads in states of the Federation in Nigeria. Federal government should also not have business talking about education centrally located. Each state or each region should be able to design and define its mode of engaging education, while the federal government provides a holistic, an umbrella kind of arrangement on what the expectations should be. You can't, primary school, for example, you can't leave primary school in the hands of federal government. You can't leave secondary school in the hands of federal government. State government should undertake some of these issues. So if you're able to devolve power to the respective zones, even collection of revenue. While most federal government collecting revenue, you can allow states to collect, and you pay fine royalties to federal government based on certain percentage, so that the federal government will be bogged down with with the responsibility of looking at the economy, looking at defense, and perhaps foreign policy. But today, everything is almost federal government. The police, federal government. You don't have state police. You don't have local government. This thing, they talk about community policing. They talk about vigilante groups and all of that. You see, the country is moving at a pace that is not in sync with what the expectations are in the global space, because the globalization has made nations to become a global village. They cannot exist in isolation. They must be able to close the gaps. They must be able to tap into what obtains elsewhere, so that they can use that to respond to challenges facing them as a country.
Now, the next question is from Francis Chinedu Anyaora, who says, so this is your justification to support Tinubu. It's a pity.
No, I think, I don't know who he is. I don't think he wants to take my right away. Under the Nigerian Constitution 1999, I can support a man just because of the dress he wears. It's my inalienable right that cannot be taken away from me.
Which is right?
By Francis Chinedu Anyaora, or by anybody for that matter. You see, you are driven by certain sentiments and persuasions. He is driven by a different one. Our socio-political backgrounds and understanding will not be the same. What I'm exposed to growing up is different from what he is exposed to. So if he lives in London here, for example, his own worldview will be different from my own worldview. I grew up in Nigeria, I live in Nigeria. I only come visiting here. So the point is, when you see individuals running for elections, certain qualities will endear you to them. So he cannot impose his own whims on me because I am guaranteed under my constitution to own an opinion. And so he has his own opinion. I am supporting a Tinubu candidacy because I want a Southerner to be president of Nigeria in 2023. He may have his own view. He may be supporting Peter Obi. That's fine. I can't support two people. I must support one. And so if Peter Obi appeals to him, that is his own right. If Tinubu appeals to me, that's my own right. He can't take away my right. I'm guaranteed under the Constitution to own that right. That's what they call it, inalienable right. It cannot be taken away by another person.
Good. Ifeoma Nwobodo, good evening. You're welcome to the stream. Yinka Adeniji, welcome to the stream. And you said, Mr. Kasim, your description of the lack of singleness of nationhood support the call for old nations within the country to be divorced from the unholy amalgamation since it's impacting on development adversely. Would you not agree?
Well, there are agitations here and there every day, and that is not in doubt. There are agitations for nations, Yoruba nation is on, IPOB is there, and all of that. But I am not a supporter of anything that has to do with violence.
Correct.
Because, like I keep saying, I have engaged and interacted with quite a number of the Southeasterners, the Igbos to be specific, and I said that when the IPOB is doing is inadvertently killing the economy of the Southeast. You don't need to kill the economy of the South because you want a nation of Biafra. You need to explore the resource of dialogue, constructive engagement, collective bargaining, in coming up with a common ground that you use to engage. If there are procedures in international geographic space, so to speak, United Nations and other treaties and conventions that nations can take. If you want self-determination, then you can explore that. But the resorting to violence, killing your own people, or causing violence and bloodletting and all of that, will not be a response or the answer to your agitation. So, for me, people must explore the intellectual dimension to this discourse rather than try to seek self-determination using the barrel of the gun. People have the right to aspire to say they want to be a nation of their own, but it must be within the ambit of international conventions, treaties, and what have you. So people may be fed up with the union, but again, it calls to question whether we are even dialoguing, whether there are national conversations.
Dialogue.
Yes, whether there are national conversations, whether we are speaking to ourselves in the language we understand, whether if people are talking about exclusion, domination, and skewed in geopolitical configurations, how are we able to address that? Are we sitting down on a round table to look at the issues? Those are the issues. So for me, dialogue under a democracy is an integral part, of ensuring that there is some level of inclusion, buy-in of the people, of geopolitical zones in whatever you are trying to do.
But Kasim, before we quickly, I'll just round this up, this issue. Yeah. Before we, you mentioned dialogue. How do we establish or ignite a dialogue process between those that were already stakeholders and who are key major players and who perhaps they've got too many vested interests in a nation like Nigeria, and those who want their own nation and then say, oh, let's dialogue? How do you put the dialogue between the stakeholders and those that really want a nation of their own?
You see, Frank Bello, we must begin to interrogate issues, and interrogating issues will also mean that we have to look at them holistically. I'm a child of civil war. I was born during the Civil War. I didn't live, I didn't grow, I wasn't old enough to know what transpired, but I've taken pains to read the history of that, what transpired, the killings and what have you, and on both sides, both on the side of the Igbos and on the side of the Nigerian troops, the colossal damage, the destruction and what have you. You see, I don't think Nigeria can survive another civil war, or a second civil war. That is why I'm not going to opt for violence in seeking self-determination. I would rather that we sit down on a round table, we discuss the issues, just like mediation. When you are in a mediation class, you are going to trade in. What are those things that are common to all of us? Can we agree on them? What are the things that divides us? Can we also minimize them? What are those other things that we think if we engage in will help the aspiration, the collective aspiration of the country? That's why I told you earlier that you need constructive engagement, collective bargaining, so that in the final analysis, whatever you agree on will be holistic and it will be binding on those members of the union that make up the country. Don't forget that we are just Nigeria was decreed into existence by colonial masters, no thanks to colonialism at those times. But I've keep telling people that colonialism did not say people should indulge in corruption. These are just human attitude. So if as a country you want to move forward, you must deliberately and consciously throw up certain initiatives that will help to address the precarious situation that we find ourselves from time to time. There's insecurity now, there's unemployment and all of that. And we are also sharing from the general global crisis. The Russian invasion of Ukraine is also impacting on African countries. Nigeria is not an exception in terms of energy crisis, in terms of oil prices and what have you. But how much of that are we able to utilize to forge ahead now remains on the issue of leadership. And so a nation gets the type of leadership it wants. At times we keep complaining, our leader. Have you also looked backwards to look at the followers? Are our followers not the ones clapping for them? Are they not the ones who collect money during the elections and they will go and vote out against their conscience? So there are a lot of issues begging for attention, but you need a utility-driven leadership that can understand the issues and be able to nip them in the bud or minimize them so that we can have some level of clear-cut roadmap for national development.
But looking very clearly at the last presidential primaries, especially between the APC and the PDP, Kasim, you surely will agree with me, or there's a likelihood you will disagree with me that, of course, dollar played an active role in the selection process. Why is this so? Before I go into the next question.
Politics in most developing countries, particularly African countries, are not.
It was because you touched on
that
they are not monetary inducement.
Yeah, they are not enthralling. They are not enduring to the heart, because you see what we practice in developing countries, particularly Africa, is monetized politics, because they make politics, so attractive to create, some kind of mentality, the big man syndrome. They go into politics impecunious, poor, and all of that. They go out rich, and there are no checks and balances within the system. Your police, certain percentage of them are with big men. They carry umbrella, they carry bags for women, and all of that. You cannot move forward as a nation when what defines you is crass materialism and conquistadorial mentality.
Well, you haven't got any place oddly attached to you or your wife.
I don't have.
So they don't do that.
I don't do that. But again, you see, when people have this mentality of a conquistador, acquisition becomes an issue, and so you acquire what you don't even need in life. I told people, I said, you don't need to be rich. What you need to be contented. You just need to cut your choices so that you live a moderate lifestyle. Don't live above your means. Live within your means so that in the final analysis, the other person can also have some level of a breather in the process. There is so much unemployment in the country. It's becoming a global phenomenon. Even in UK here, jobs are there. They are looking for people to come and do them. Certain categories of jobs are reserved for certain persons and all of that. But for a country like Nigeria, with all our challenges, particularly in security, we are having a spiral effect of that. Then our economy is another issue. Refineries are not working. We are an oil producing country. People are not fixing refineries. We are importing so many issues. So, Frank Bello, it's a collective responsibility. I'm not going to apportion the blame on one side. It is both on the side of the leadership and the followership. We have our roles to play in our little homes. How much of equity do we put in the process when we are dealing with our homes? What kind of attitude do we bring into the running of our home? What kind of a husband are you? What kind of a wife are you? What kind of kids are you bringing up? And so these are the issues. The value system has changed. It must be redressed. How much of value do we place on human lives? Every day is bloodletting, kidnapping, and all of that. All of this boils down to what? Materialism. So once people develop this conquistadorial mentality, your sense of acquisition becomes impaired, and so what you get in return becomes something different. So somebody was saying that, what is that the reason why you were supporting Tinubu and all of that earlier? Francis and all of that. If I feel that a man has the capacity to throw up certain initiatives that will help address some of the problems of Nigeria, I will do that. I will support such a person. That's the truth, but that is my right.
Okay, our friend Narada Franklin, Elijah Folake Alawiye, you're welcome to the stream. I can spot you. Narada Franklin is watching the stream live from Moscow.
Just go ahead.
Now, he said to Mr. Afegbua, my question, why are you drawn and or aligned to working with supposed evil-minded Nigerians, i.e. IBB, Oshiomole, and now Tinubu? Over to you, Kasim. Maybe you want to...
Well, it's like asking Narada Franklin from Moscow, why are you in Russia, a country of a president that is invading another country that has a sovereignty? I thought that you rise up to protest and exit from Russia or from Moscow, back to your country in protest against the inhuman invasion. You see, it is easier for you to conclude, that some persons are evil-minded. It depends on how you assess persons. Before I met IBB, I was one of his critics. As a journalist in Lagos, I was criticizing IBB and all of that. But when I had opportunity to meet and interacted and ask questions, provoking questions for that matter, I interrogated his government and everything, and discovered that a lot of the things we read in the papers and all of that, they don't even have foundation in terms of depth. So I now had my reservations about that. I don't know what you mean when you say Oshomole is evil-minded. I don't know what you mean. He was governor of my state for 8 years. I served in his government as special advisor on media and then later commissioner for information. We tried the best we could, given the resources at our disposal. Go to Edo State, the footprints of Oshomole's intervention as a governor are still there. I challenge anybody, even this present governor, I challenge them. None of them can tell me that they have surpassed what Oshomole did. So if that is what you call evil-mindedness, well, good luck to you. All I know is that Oshomole was a governor for 8 years and impacted the lives of the people in terms of infrastructure, even education, health, road infrastructure, and what have you. So you have you may have your own mind in terms of assessing these persons. Now you are talking about Tinubu. I'm not from Lagos State. Those who lived in Lagos, who saw Lagos pre-1999 and saw Lagos post-2007, know that Tinubu made a lot of intervention, and till date, his line of succession to the leadership of executive position of Lagos still remains under his grip. So if he's an evil-minded person, Lagosians who are voting for his choice candidates would not have been voting for him. So as far as I'm concerned, I've looked at those who are contesting today. I think Tinubu has an edge in terms of creativity, in terms of initiative, in terms of ideas, in terms of even understanding the dynamics of the system, in terms of understanding the intricate logic of Nigerian federation, and also our skilled federalist status, which to me is something we must worry about. And don't forget, Tinubu was a pro-democracy activist. Whatever you are benefited today as a democracy, Tinubu was part and parcel of those who fought for it.
Yeah, but Kasim.
Yeah.
This same Tinubu between you and I has got a lot going for him. There's that huge controversy concerning his educational qualifications. There is huge controversy concerning his age and the big fight between Tinubu currently and Chief Bode George in Lagos is for Bola Tinubu to say, oh, he attended St. Paul's Aroloya, whereas there was nothing called St. Paul's Aroloya, and then subsequently Government College Ibadan, GCI.
You see, these are issues that have been overflogged. Late Ganifa Wemi took up these issues when he was alive, and
in fact, Festus Keyamo equally challenged. Yes.
You know, so the point is, if there are issues with his qualification, I think the relevant courts, as provided for in our enabling laws, should have taken the appropriate action to address all of that. I think what bothers me or what matters to me is whether this person has the prerequisite to be president of Nigeria. The Constitution of Nigeria is very flexible in terms of the qualification. In fact, the provision states that if, in the opinion of INEC, you can read your right, you can contest for president.
Not minding
whether you attended primary school
or not,
secondary school. If, in the opinion of INEC, you can read and write, you can contest for president. And Tinubu has not been denied of being an alumnus of Chicago State University. That has not been denied. That has not been controverted. People have written to Chicago State University. They've gotten reply and all of that. They didn't say he didn't work in Mobile. He worked there, he retired there and all of that before he contested for Senate and he became a senator. So I think what bothers me more is whether a candidate running for president of Nigeria has the capacity and the political goodwill to take certain unfriendly decisions that will hurt certain persons, but that will be for the collective good of the people. I want a candidate who has the boldness and the capacity to look into the eyes of the elitist group and tell them, go to hell. Why do you have to take certain decisions that favor certain elements of the society against the majority? What capacity does the candidate have to alter the usual narrative of saying, if you can't beat them, join them? So I see a Tinubu more like a disruptor of a process that can give birth to something good, something more edible for all of us. So if Nigerians in their millions file out in February 2023 to elect a leader, and Tinubu happens to be, my expectation will be that he is able to look straight into the eyes of those who have held the country down and is able to take certain decisions that will have far-reaching impact on a wider majority of Nigerians and not continue to dwell or promote those elite few who are never, agreeable when it comes to elite consensus, but are always ever there to frustrate a system that does not favor them. So I have my strong support for him. I don't pretend in whoever I support. You can call me any kind of name. I am persuaded by the kind of information that at my disposal. It's not everything I'm going to say on television, online, or any other platform. When it is suitable, I'll say certain things. There are certain information that some of us know that we can't divulge in public space. So, but essentially, as it is today, I'm a supporter of Tinubu presidency, and I want the Southern presidency. There are people who are supporting Obi. They have their right to do so. And so, everybody, all of us cannot sleep and put our heads on one pillow when there are options. That's why democracy is called a game of choices. So, that's my choice.
Guys, the time in London is 18:31. An audience with Prince Kasim Afegwa live in London. We'll be back. Oh.
You have water?
Yeah, that's my water. Oh. Don't worry. I forgot. Don't worry, just leave it. Come and sit down.
flowing now.
Yes, and you are welcome back. Yes, it is an audience with the big fish that I promised you guys, Prince Kasim Afebwa, live in London. Yes, I promised and I've delivered. Yinka Adeniji, I'm going to throw your question straight to Kasim. Kasim, here is Yinka Adeniji's question. Would you support the approach of the Yoruba nation contrasted with the IPOB approach? What's your opinion on the 2014 SNC locked away by President Jonathan and President Buhari? Over to you.
Well, I think this a two-pronged approach question is looking at the Yoruba nation agitation in contrast with that of IPOB.
I'm one of those in Yoruba nation.
Well, it's no problem. You are a British now. You are not. You are British. You are not a Nigerian.
How?
Yes.
I'm a Yoruba man. I'm a very proud conservative
okay.
Yoruba
If you
man.
are a Yoruba man, visit Nigeria. Let's see you. You don't see
Guys,
that,
you can hear that?
You don't see that in London and be shouting at Yoruba.
You guys, you hear that?
The last time I checked, you don't have a passport, a green passport. We are so proud of it. You have the British passport, so you can remain here with the king. That's fine. But talking seriously, I think the Yoruba nation agitation is also a fallout of the several halitosis in the system. And but I quite appreciate the intellectual dimension of the Yoruba nation agitation. I appreciate the fact that there is no violence. I haven't heard that people are shooting and killing. The idea of unknown gunmen, I haven't seen that playing out in the Southwest. I mean, I'm from a minority tribe, very minority.
Midwest.
The minor of the minority, so to speak. I'm from Afema, my village is Sokwela. And so the likelihood that some of these bigger tribes will swallow us when the issue of separatism and all of that comes up is very rife. So we also have our own, express our own fears in the agitations. But if there is opportunity for a robust dialogue, constructive engagement, and collective bargaining, and there are assurances that the minority groups will be catered for in the bigger picture, and the same factors of domination, marginalization, and exclusivity will not play a role, then we can buy into that. But to just sit back and think that without discussion, without dialogue, that I will buy into a Yoruba nation agitation, that would be missing the point. Well, talking about the Sovereign National Conference of 2014, there are quite a number of far-reaching decisions, at that conference. I am one of those who think that the cupboard where it was locked should be opened so that we can tap into some of those decisions reached, during
Jonathan's period,
which in themselves are good initiatives that can be direct response to the challenges we are facing. The issue of state policing is becoming almost overdue. Issue of complementary laws from both federal and the state. It's just like you have in America, you have the sheriff, you have the police, you have the county, whatever. Nigeria should also be designed in such a manner, because we are running a presidential system of government which is very expensive. So if you want to run parliamentary, fine, all of these will also have to be captured in your restructuring agenda, your restructuring initiatives. But in all of these, what makes human society more endearing, more enthralling, more amusing to all of us is that resource of dialogue. You must dialogue, you must engage issues. People must come with superior argument to win over converts. You must be able to convince people, you must be able to give assurances, you must be able to speak to their minds so that their fears will be allayed. Once you're able to do that, fine. But if you choose a select few and you keep rotating on the same axis and you want to make progress, you'll be mixing the point. So
This is you are tackling the question on sovereign national conference.
Yes. So motion without movement will not help us. Inclusivity will help us. Dialogue will help us. Constructive engagement will help us. Collective bargaining will help us. Interrogation of all the dominant issues will also help us, so that whatever decision we arrive at, just like what we have in the Sovereign National Conference of 2014, we'll be able to implement them in such a way that other zones will not feel alienated. They won't feel the fear culture and the fear factor. And in the final analysis, the decisions you reach, the implementation will have to be holistic. But today, I told someone, I said, because of our disparities, because of our diversities, our ethnic multiplicities and all of that, different configurations, if you want to set up a state-of-the-art hospital in Nigeria, people will be asking, where are you citing it? If you don't cite it in the north, they will say, why not middle belt? If you don't cite it in the middle belt, they say, why not in southwest? If it's not in southwest, they say, why not south-south? South-south will tell you, they are the one producing the eggs that lay the gold. They are the eggs, the Jews that lays the golden egg, and all of that. So all manners of factors will come in. At the end of the day, to defeat the very notion of trying to set up a state-of-the-art hospital. I want to give you a typical example. When we were in government in Edo State, Oshomole built an ultra-modern hospital that runs into several millions of naira. In fact, even equipping that hospital around was.
But what happened to all the equipment?
Was over 1 billion. They are all there. They are all there. They play politics with everything. The succeeding governor play politics with it. As we speak now, that hospital has been leased to someone from Delta State who is running that hospital.
So government hospital
in the hands of private
to a private sector. Now perhaps Obaseki's confident, should we put it that way, to run the private hospital?
Of course, that's what happened.
So Oshiomhole built a first-class hospital, equipped it, and then suddenly the next continuity for him to just carry on and then build and then wiped out. Okay,
and this is the problem of Nigeria. And I was discussing with one senior Nigerian who had just finished his PhD at Cambridge here. He was telling me about the issue of abandoned projects. Abandoned projects in Nigeria.
I think I said,
they were talking about abandoned projects in Nigeria, and that over 10,000 abandoned projects exist.
10,000
over 10,000 abandoned projects exist because
abandoned
succeeding government will not want to continue a government
and money wasted,
and all of that. It's only this government of Buhari. You can give him that credit that he continued some of the projects that were started before him, like the Southeast Connecting Bridge, the Southeast Bridge, where like the issue of railway system, they continue them, and some other projects across the country. That's good. If another government comes on stream, my expectation will be that they should also continue from where the Buhari government is stopped by way of projects. But of course, it has not been El Dorado. This was not what our expectations were. But even at that, there has to be a continuum. Power is continuum. The life of a nation does not end with one regime. Regime come, regime go. The nation remains. So I think it has to be a collective responsibility on our
Before
parts.
we move into the next phase, let me quickly take, because I told every one of them that I will give them the opportunity to quiz you and to ask you some tough questions that might be too blackish or grayish in their eyes. Now, Yemi Foluke is asking you, can the country be ruled successfully with the current constitution? Over to you, Kasim.
You see, I have often argued that the therapy and otherwise of a document or a piece of legislation captured in the Constitution or other enabling laws is best, tested when you implement the provisions, not by selecting provisions that suits you, but holistically implementing them. You see, the Nigerian Constitution, people have complained before now, oh, it was given to us by military, is this, is that. Have you implemented the provisions to the letters? Have you? There was a provision that talked about 13% derivation. Under Obasanjo, that provision was jettisoned. He was paying 6.5% derivation to the oil-producing states on the excuse that the governors will have too much money to steal. But the Constitution provides for 13%. Why are you paying 50% of that? So it is good for us to test the provisions of a Constitution so that we'll see the therapy of it. We'll see how it is able to solve or respond or answer to the queries that particular provision is set out to address. No document is perfect. London or the UK, the UK does not have a written constitution.
Yeah.
But you have body of laws that are captured, and that dictate that a taxi driver or a driver on the highways of London must respect the rule because there are systems to checkmate your excesses. And human nature, by human nature, you are bound to exhibit some certain excesses. But once you know that there are checks and balances in the system, you will behave. When our people travel to London here and all of that, they behave. But when they come, they want to experiment the big man mentality that I talked about earlier on. So once you have a constitution that is an enabler or a leveler for everyone, nobody will tell you in UK here that because this man is an MP that he has the right to break the law and go away with it. No, the system must take its course. So it is not so much about the constitution, but so much about not implementing the provisions of that constitution to test the therapy of it and the effectiveness in checkmating a lot of the excesses that are bound in the country.
Okay, I can see. I will take this last one. The time in London is 1844 London time, and as you all can appreciate,
somebody is asking a question.
Yes, in fact, I'm gonna post that question because it is something that I feel you will tackle very, very well. Before we go into some of the few other things I want to take up with you, and then we bring the stream to an end. Now, again, Yinka Adeniji is now asking you, late Delegiwa, your kingsman was alleged to have been eliminated by the regime of your principal, IBB. How did you feel about working for IBB with this public perception? Do you miss your kingsman? Delegiwa. This is interesting.
There's nothing much. You see, the point is, regimes come with different scenarios, and as at the time Delegiwa died, it was under a military government. Nobody elected them to come and govern us. Nobody elected any military government to preside over the country. Even the ones that are elected, there are different kind of crimes, elimination, assassination, and what have you. Between 1999 and 2007, several chieftains of PDP and all the political parties were eliminated, assassinated. Dikibo was one of them. Harry Marshall is another. Funshaw Williams is one. So many persons. So
state assassination.
He called them anything. But in the case of Delegiwa, there was an investigation, carried out by the police under I think Commissioner of Police Omeben and all of that. So they didn't see any trace of IBB to that. And why people raise curious questions was because it was a letter bomb that was very novel in the life of the country at that time. But of course, criminals who perpetrate crime under the cover of a government, and so you can't take it away. either developing countries, even developed democracy, developed countries, they do manners of things. So for me, quite unfortunate we lost Delegiwa. He's an Afema man. He's from Ugbekwe Ekperi. We missed him. He was one of those journalists we're looking up to. I mean, he still continued to rest in peace. And I'm not going to be detained by what happened in 1986. We can only pray that the system gets better so that we can get solutions or we can get answers to unresolved murders. Even in UK here, there are cases of unresolved murder. In America, there are cases of unresolved murder. Anywhere, there are cases of unresolved murder. But quite unfortunately.
Talking, and so, maybe that's the...
so the point is, quite unfortunate that that happened. But I don't have problem with working with IBB. I interact with Babangida all the time. I ask questions. He gives me his perspectives and all of that. I'm also writing a book of my engagement with IBB, some of his perspective on issues, reasons why certain decisions were taken, whether they were in the best interest of the country, what are the perception issues, just like you said, is public perception, are they genuine, are they right? Does the public have the right information to take an opinion, to form that kind of perception? Why are the perceptions negative in some cases, and why are they positive in some cases? But I think history has also just vindicated IBB on a number of issues, in terms of performance, in terms of infrastructural development of the country, in terms of even re-engineering the country. At the time when it was almost impossible, even though it was a military government, he created opportunity for private ownership of the media, television, radio, and all of that, granted licenses to all of them. He rejuvenated the banking sector, introduced new banks. All the major banks in Nigeria today that are working took off from the regime of IBB. Zenith Banks, UBA, call them Standard IBTC, and so many of those banks. They all started during that period because he was a man who was thinking ahead of his time. And to a large extent, today, just barely a month ago, we had a policy dialogue in Abuja where we interrogated the legacies of IBB. And we were able to come to the conclusion that, yes, this was a man who actually performed, so creditably well. And the few mistakes he made here and there are not enough to deny him his place in history.
Okay, the time is 1849. Pastor Ade Ojeniran. You're welcome to the stream. Tina Jones, yes, I've acknowledged Alaja Folake Alawiye, Francis Chinedu Anyaora, Yinka Deniji Esther Ewetuga, Ishola Olalekon. Yes, you guys, I can see each and every one of you. This remaining part of the stream, because we've got minutes to bring the show to an end. Between three potential candidates, let's look a little bit further into what many people are unable to see. What if, in the end, we see a situation whereby a Muslim ticket, to which many people are not really comfortable with, somebody you know very well in Aso Rock, in the presidency, Babachi Alawa, is adamant about a Muslim ticket. Some people are saying, oh, that's been experimented during MKO Abiola in Hope 93. With Shetima saying he's going to take over the security of the state. Hold on. And looking at the health status of Asiwaju, what if I'm going to ask you right now is, what if suddenly something terrible happened to Asiwaju that many of you are now advocating for, and suddenly power is then returned back to the north with Shetima? where will you be?
Well, Frank Bello, let me just quickly respond that.
We are looking for.
No. Number one, I am not Bola Ahmed Tinubu's personal doctor or personal physician. His level of wellness can only be determined by the fact that he did a kneecap replacement, sometimes earlier this year, and within 3-4 months he was able to walk. If he was a diabetic patient, I think by now he will still be suffering that. So to a large extent, within 3 months, if you do a kneecap replacement, you're able to walk, then that means you have some level of sanity in your health status. That is one. Two, Bola Tinubu walks almost like 18 hours of the day, if not 19. I have seen this. I'm not telling you what I have not seen. He wakes up, starts his day 11 o'clock, at times 10 a.m. in the morning, and at 3 a.m. he's giving you an appointment to see him. And you'll be wondering whether this man will not be asleep. You go there, you see him sitting down. So if a man can walk 18, 19 hours, and you still say he's not well, good luck. I don't know whether you are his doctor, whether you are his personal physician, whether he has complained to you that he's not well. I think the issue of death is not to be determined by humans. That is the aspect that God used to explain to us that we are just mere mortals. Mm-hmm. A man who you think is hale and hearty and healthy, running on the street of London, may just slump and he will die. And the man who you think that is not well will live longer than you expected. President Buhari is one. When he started, we thought he was going to give up. Today, he's looking like a newborn. So, for me,
I have my reservations.
Yeah. For me, I'm not going to be detained by that. The point is, Kashim Shettima is a vice presidential candidate. If they are elected, he becomes a vice president of the country. His responsibilities are defined in the Constitution of Nigeria 1999 as amended, and those responsibilities can only be dictated to by those provisions, and by extension, what the president, offers him in terms of responsibilities. Talking about Muslim ticket, I'm not one Nigerian who is detained by religion. Both Christianity, Islam, they are imported religion to us. Nobody's talking for the traditionalists. Nobody's talking to the Ogun worshippers. When we were practicing these religions, there was sanity in our society. You can't steal goat. If you steal goat, the traditional whatever will fetch you out. If you steal someone's money, there will be consequences for you. But since we embrace these imported religions, we have been sent on a wild goose chase, as far as I'm concerned. I want leadership that is interrogative. I want leadership that has capacity to speak to the issues in the country, and not leadership that is detained on the basis of faith. You are a pastor, you are a chief imam, you are eating money of the congregants, you built a school with congregants' money, and your congregants can't even attend your school, and you come and be preaching to me ritual of religion and politics. Please keep that in your home. What I want to see is a leader that can tell me these are my initiatives to solve insecurity. These are my initiatives to address unemployment and all of that. If you are a congregant and you are impregnating members of your church or your mosque, and you are a pastor or chief imam, and you are doing all manners of things that are unholy and ungodly, and you come to tell me that you are doing Muslim ticket, what is the meaning of that? If you want Christian ticket or Muslim ticket, please go and set up your mosque or your church and be preaching Armageddon. You can feature your candidate and present yourself to the electorate. These are political parties issues, and the factors that determine who becomes the candidates of a party and who becomes victorious are different from what you see in the churches and in the mosque. Whether you like it or not, Christianity is minority faith in the north. That's the truth, and people don't want to say it, but that is the truth. The Muslim or Islamic religion is dominant in the north, and so if there's an opportunity for you to choose a candidate from the north and you need votes, you will naturally go for the majority faith. So the sentiments of trying to say, oh, why not Muslim, Christian, and Babachila and all of that. Babachila has ever delivered his local government or even his polling unit to APC that he belongs to. I don't want to be bogged down by all these kind of sentiments.
Now, we've got 3 minutes to bring this stream to an end. There's a very nice question, and I want you to please take this question. From Nka Adeniji.
Yeah.
Now, it is very interesting. Sowore is a southerner, youthful and visionary. What's your opinion of his presidential aspiration and Nigeria's future in the hands of younger politicians?
No, I don't. Sowore incidentally is a friend. I can't buy into a Sowore presidency because it's an unserious one, whether you like it or not. You cannot sit back and you say you are contesting election every year. You are the chairman of your party. You are the candidate of your party. You don't allow room for some level of flexibility and all-inclusive participation of your people. Only recently, the courts gave them judgment because his party was enmeshed in crisis and all of that. Every time you open a joint basket fund, you want people to donate to your aspiration and all of that. That's not. That's some. How do you account for the money you collect? Last time I told you, I challenged him. I said, you raised so much millions 2019. How do you account? You are the one who dispenses, you receive, you spend, you run your audited account, you publish. No. I'm not going to be detained by
no accountant, no financial, no
probity, no accountability, and all of that.
No,
so you cannot be
organizational chart.
You cannot be contesting for president, condemning the system, whereas in your own microscopic political party, you are doing similar things that you are accusing people of doing. I've told Sowore one-on-one. He knows me. We chat all the time and we talk. And
you hear that?
Ourselves. Yes, we chat all the time. We interrogate ourselves. And I say, come. You cannot be raising money in dollars and in naira, and you are not declaring, letting us to know how you are spending. How do you take decision to spend 10 naira from your joint basket fund if you get 300 million naira, for example? So for me, I think that is just like a job for the boys. It's just you want to be a presidential candidate so that you tell your friends to come and donate to you and all that. I won't waste my resources.
One more minute. Okay. So, thank you very much, Kasim. Ladies and gentlemen, let me seize this opportunity to thank each and every one of you who's made it. It's 1 hour. Kasim, thank you very much for making it to the studio for this special broadcast. Maybe at some point in time.
And it's also good for the diasporans to also find time to come to Nigeria at regular intervals to participate in the national conversation. You see, I like your platform because it gives people opportunity to make contributions to further and deepen the narrative. Our democracy is still very young. It's barely 23 years old and all of that. If we are able to sustain it to a certain extent, the likelihood that we'll behave better, and do better will be high. But for us to think that 23 years old democracy wanted to wear the semblance of 250 years democracy or a monarchy that has been so grounded in discharging its responsibility will be missing the point. Again, there has to be attitudinal orientation, there has to be attitudinal change, there have to be deliberate reorientation of minds. Ownership of the country has to be holistic. People must buy into it. Diasporans must come. They must play a role. They must, invest their time, energy, resources, and intellect to ensure that they derive the kind of initiatives that will help the country to move forward. If we keep lamenting, Yoruba nation, if you create 10 nations out of Nigeria, those nations will still be facing the same crisis that we are facing, and that is crisis of confidence, crisis of ethnicism, crisis of tribal chauvinism, clannish sentiments, clandestine, prebenda politics, and all of that. They will continue to rear their ugly heads every now and then. So what we need as a people is a deliberate, intervention at the leadership level, at the intellectual level, generating ideas that will think that when implemented will have far-reaching impact. And that's why I told you that it is not just somebody preaching that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I watched Peter Obi interview on CNN. He disappointed me because he was not just drab and bland. The kind of responses I want to hear from a Peter Obi who the youth are following are not the responses I got from him. How do you want to address insecurity. Give me the ideas, not tell me that I'm going to fight insecurity. We know that insecurity exists. Tell me the therapy you are going to apply. How do you want to fight unemployment? How do you create financial inclusion? How do you create,
where's the resources coming from? Where is the resources to fight unemployment coming from?
So I want people to come up with policies and programs that are actionable such that you know that when you implement this, you can address it. If you call 10 economics to come and provide solutions to Nigerian problems, you're going to have 10 solutions. There is no definitive end about economic solutions in Nigeria. There was a time they assembled American economy, 7 of them, to come and chart a roadmap for the American economy. They came up with 7 different solutions. There are people who believe in infrastructural development. There are economies that don't believe in that. So different approaches and all of that. But for God's sake, what you require is a political will that will help to take decisions that are so painful, but that are right for the wellness and well-being of the country.
And on that note, guys, let me say a very big thank you to my brother. It's hard for us to be together. Maybe at some point in time, we're going to see how things go. Maybe when he's back in Nigeria, I still will be bringing him to quiz him and see what can be done. Thank you all, guys, for tuning in to watch an audience with Prince Kasim Afegwa live in London. Look, I'm going to be back with the usual bleeding edge in the next broadcast. Now, share it, because if you don't, some people are really dying to have this little piece of information, but they are not just privileged to read. So on this note, guys, let us now bring the stream to an end. Until next time, Kasim, thank you once again for coming into the studio to talk to our people. I hope they've picked up something.
And I saw somebody commenting that I'm on the payroll of Tinubu. I am not on anybody's payroll. Even Atiku, when I supported him in 2019, one kobo did not exchange hand between me and Atiku. And I said this is a public platform. I challenge Atiku and his people to tell the
Francis Chinedu was the one.
If I collected a kobo from Atiku.
Olubumi Oyewole says your friend is a politician. Okay, guys, thank you. I've spent more than 1 hour, and I promise not to spend over an hour. Kasim,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to have you in London. Until next time, peace and enjoy it. Share it.